Get ready. Gird your loins. All right, batten down the hatches. It is May 31st. That means tomorrow is the beginning of June, the beginning of what is now very sadly known as Pride Month here in America. We are going to get through this together. It's going to be obnoxious. I highly recommend, unless you're watching the first, you just turn the television off, take your phone and just throw it into the ocean somewhere. Just disappear. Get off the power grid somewhere. Go to the mountains because it's going to be unbearable this year. Now, we're going to do something a little different. Rather than just cover everything, we're going to discuss a bit of the why. Why do corporations do this, especially now? Because tomorrow you're going to wake up and everything from Nickelodeon to NASCAR is going to be waterboarding you with rainbow propaganda. But now you have numbers out now. You know that Target shares, they're at a 52-week low. 52 weeks. 52-week low for Target because of all the Pride stuff. Bud Light has been the number one beer in America, which is really sad. But Bud Light's been the number one beer in America for ages. It was just always the number one. If Bud Light sales go down anymore, they're going to get knocked off of the number one spot. That's stunning. Okay, so why is it going to be so bad tomorrow? I don't understand. Jesse, you said it's going to be bad tomorrow, but then at the same time, you pointed out all the money these corporations are losing. Jesse, help me make sense of it. Well, let me help you make sense of it. There's a reason, many reasons actually, that corporations in America now waterboard you with endless crap all the time. Are we black enough? Are we gay enough? Are we pro-women enough? Climate change? There's a reason this stuff has come, many reasons. One of the main culprits is HR. HR departments in the United States of America are almost always populated by single liberal white women. Well, HR departments determine the training your company goes through, who comes in, who gets fired. The HR department, you hire committed communists and then wonder why your company changes over time. So that's a big reason. Another big reason is we've allowed the communists to control the American education system for decades. They've controlled the education system. Well, if you're churning out 4 million new college graduates a year, give or take, that's always roughly what it is, those kids are going somewhere. Where are they going? They're going into the work world. They're going into the work world with a purpose. Okay? So what happens? They get promoted. They work their way up through the work world. You picture a corporate boardroom full of a bunch of dudes with suits and ties and maybe smoking cigarettes and drinking a Manhattan with charts and graphs, and it's all about profits and loss and things like that. What you're not picturing is that college communist graduating and then 15 years there in that corporate boardroom. But the answer is actually bigger than that, much bigger than that. And this is one of the, I don't know about irony. I don't think that's probably a good way to put it, but this is one of the oddities of the era in which we live. We do very much live in the information age. And think about how incredible this is. Think about how many people in the history of mankind never even knew how to read, let alone write, and never held a book of any kind, a book. There were many periods of time in this planet, where if you had access to books, you were the smartest person on the planet. You had access to knowledge. The knowledge doesn't exist anywhere else. It's right there in books. You now live in an era where everything is right here. Every book you could ever want, right here. You can watch how-to videos on brain surgery. It's all right here. Everything you need through this little window that you hold in the palm of your hand. And yet, in this information age, people have never been less informed about the realities of life. You want to know how I know? Here, little experiment for you. I want you to do this with your normie friends, your normie neighbor Norm this weekend when y'all are hanging out discussing the game or whatever. I want you to ask normie Norm. I want you to ask him if he knows what BlackRock is, if he knows what State Street is, if he knows what Vanguard is. BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard. You know who these companies are? This is going to come back to Pride Month. Just stay with me. You're about to educate Norm. You know what these companies are? These gigantic financial corporations. How gigantic are they? Well, between those three companies right there, you know how much they control? How much money's under their control? $20 trillion with a T. That is roughly the equivalent of the size of the entire United States economy. $20 trillion. So how does BlackRock and State Street and Vanguard, how does that end up with some drag queen shaking his Nickelodeon? I will explain. This took place a few years ago. These CEOs, the major CEOs, well over 150 of them got together and they decided they were going to sign a pledge. And that pledge was, hey, we are no longer going to just serve our shareholders, people who buy shares. We're now going to serve stakeholders. And see, previously, shareholders are your entire job if you're a CEO or if you're on a board. The people who own shares, it's your job to make them money. Period. End of story. You're a corporation. When you dismiss the shareholder and instead talk about stakeholders, well, who are stakeholders? Oh, the oppressed. Doesn't have to be anyone who owns shares in the company. Well, we have to do outreach to all the gays and all the black people and all the feminists and all the climate change. We have to reduce our carbon. Everyone's a stakeholder. We're going to take our money here at BlackRock and we're going to help those stakeholders out. But they don't use their power softly. Why do companies like Target still put chest binders for teenage girls in the front of their store? Well, because these gigantic financial giants, BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, they replace corporate boards with their own people. Did you know ExxonMobil? They can now be found routinely running these ads talking about climate change and oil sucks. How could that be? How could an oil and gas company talk like that? Well, the financial giants replaced oil men on the corporate board with climate change nutballs. You want to talk about the destruction of an industry? They're replacing the corporate boards with communists. And the CEOs of these companies, they exist in this $1 million, $10 million world that you and I will never know. Let's say that roughly, because this will change. Let's say they make $10, $15 million a year. That's great money, obviously. We would all take that in a heartbeat. But that's not where the big boy money is. The CEO gets paid generally on the profitability of the company. He's been a good boy. They check the old profit loss at the end of the year. That's interesting. Nice. Write him a $30 million bonus check. Stuff like that, right? You're taking the old lady out on a yacht. That's not how it works anymore. Now that BlackRock and State Street and Vanguard are controlling these major corporations and replacing their boards, your CEO bonus at the end of the year, it's not going to be on things like profits. Hey, how much of our company's budget did you spend on gay people this year? On trannies? Did you spend $50 million on trannies? You did? Nice, hook this guy up with the bonus check. That's how it works now. Why do you see these CEOs run to the camera? They can't run to the camera fast enough to talk about Black Lives Matter. Why? Because the CEO's big fat bonus check at the end of the year is no longer determined by that profit loss sheet. It's determined by just how communist he is. But you see your normie neighbor Norm, he sees all this stuff and he complains about Pride Month and he doesn't like it and he wants it to stop, but he's never even heard of BlackRock or State Street or Vanguard. And yet these corporations, we're going to talk to James Lindsay about this in a little bit, these corporations, they run it like a cartel. That's what it's like. It's like organized crime. James talks about this all the time now. It's like organized crime. The businesses, the corporate world in America, because of the communist financial giants, are incentivized to pour poison into your eyes and ears. That's why you're going to see what you're about to see starting tomorrow on Pride Month. And that may have made you uncomfortable, but I am right.
For too long, we've been led to believe that communism is a thing of the past. But the truth is, communism is alive. It's here, and it's infiltrating every aspect of American life. Introducing the Anti-Communist Manifesto by Jesse Kelly, the practical guide for patriots ready to defend our nation from its most dangerous enemy. Discover the shocking extent of communist infiltration in our education system, their alliance with American corporations, and the twisted truth behind environmentalism. This eye-opening book exposes the true face of communism and empowers you to fight back. Join the fight for freedom. Pre-order your copy of the Anti-Communist Manifesto today by going to jessekellybook.com.